Nina plants flowers in her garden. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled between rolling green hills and a sparkling blue river, there lived a young girl named Nina. Nina was 10 years old, with bright eyes that reflected the wonder she felt about the world around her. She lived with her parents in a cozy house that had a little garden at the back. The garden was mostly bare, with only a few trees providing shade and a patch of grass where Nina would often sit and read. Nina loved nature. Every morning, she woke up to the sound of birds chirping outside her window. She enjoyed feeling the soft breeze on her face and the warmth of the sun as she walked to school. On her way, she would often stop to admire the wildflowers that grew along the path. Their vibrant colors and sweet scents always brought a smile to her face. One sunny afternoon, as Nina was walking home from school, she noticed a neighbor's garden filled with beautiful flowers. Roses, tulips, daisies, and sunflowers swayed gently in the wind. Butterflies fluttered around them, and bees buzzed from flower to flower. Nina stood there for a moment, captivated by the sight. "I wish our garden looked like that," she thought. The idea of creating her own flower garden began to grow in her mind. She imagined a place where she could spend time surrounded by colorful blooms and the sounds of nature. When she got home, Nina found her mother in the kitchen preparing dinner. "Mom," she said excitedly, "can we plant flowers in our garden?" Her mother looked up and smiled. "That's a lovely idea, Nina. What kind of flowers would you like to plant?" Nina thought for a moment. "I love roses because they smell so nice. Sunflowers are so tall and bright, and daisies always look happy. Can we plant those?" "Of course," her mother replied. "We'll need to get some seeds and prepare the garden. Maybe this weekend, we can go to the market and buy what we need." Nina could hardly contain her excitement. She spent the rest of the evening drawing pictures of how she wanted the garden to look. She colored the roses red, the sunflowers yellow, and the daisies white with yellow centers. She added butterflies and ladybugs to her drawings, imagining all the life that would come to visit her garden. The next morning at breakfast, Nina showed her father her drawings. "These are wonderful," he said. "I'm sure your garden will be even more beautiful." On Saturday morning, Nina and her parents went to the local market. The market was bustling with people buying and selling all sorts of things: fresh fruits and vegetables, handmade crafts, and, most importantly for Nina, plants and seeds. They approached a stall that was overflowing with flowers and greenery. An elderly woman with kind eyes greeted them. "Good morning. How can I help you today?" "We'd like to buy some flower seeds," Nina's mother said. "My daughter is starting her own garden." The woman smiled at Nina. "What a delightful project. What kinds of flowers are you interested in?" Nina shyly stepped forward. "I would like roses, sunflowers, and daisies, please." "Excellent choices," the woman said. "Roses can be a bit tricky from seeds, so I recommend starting with a small rose plant. As for sunflowers and daisies, seeds will do just fine." She selected a small potted rose plant with vibrant red buds and handed it to Nina. Then she gave her packets of sunflower and daisy seeds. "Remember," the woman said, "plants need care and patience. Water them regularly and make sure they get enough sunlight." "I will," Nina promised. Back home, Nina couldn't wait to start planting. She changed into her gardening clothes: a pair of old jeans, a t-shirt, and a wide-brimmed hat to keep the sun off her face. Her parents joined her in the garden to help. "First, we need to prepare the soil," her father said. They began by clearing the area of weeds and rocks. Nina used a small shovel to turn the soil, making it soft and ready for planting. She felt the earth between her fingers and thought about how it would help her seeds grow. Next, they planned where to plant each type of flower. Sunflowers grow very tall, her mother explained. We should plant them at the back so they don't block the view of the other flowers. Nina nodded and carefully planted the sunflower seeds in a row at the back of the garden. She made small holes in the soil, placed a seed in each one, and covered them gently. They planted the daisies in the middle section. Nina scattered the daisy seeds over the soil and lightly raked them in. Finally, she planted the rose bush at the front, where its beauty could be easily seen. After all the planting was done, Nina watered the garden with a gentle sprinkle from the watering can. "Grow well, little seeds," she whispered. "I can't wait to see you." Over the next few days, Nina checked on her garden every morning and evening. She watered the soil when it felt dry and made sure no weeds were popping up. She watched eagerly for any signs of growth. One morning, about a week later, Nina noticed tiny green shoots emerging from the soil where she had planted the sunflower seeds. "Mom! Dad! Come look!" she called excitedly. Her parents came outside and smiled at the sight. "They're sprouting," her father said. "Good job, Nina." As days passed, the sunflower shoots grew taller and sturdier. The daisy seedlings also began to appear, their small leaves reaching toward the sun. Nina was thrilled to see the progress. She kept a journal where she drew pictures of the plants and noted their growth. One afternoon, Nina noticed that the rose bush had opened its first bloom. A beautiful red rose unfolded its petals to the sun. She leaned in to smell its sweet fragrance. "It's so beautiful," she whispered. Her garden was coming to life. Bees buzzed around the flowers, and butterflies fluttered by. Birds sang from the trees, adding music to the vibrant scene. One day after school, Nina invited her best friend, Lily, to come and see the garden. "Wow, Nina, this is amazing," Lily exclaimed. "I love the sunflowers. They're so tall." "They're my favorite," Nina said. "Did you know they turn their heads to follow the sun?" "Really?" Lily asked. "Yes, it's called heliotropism," Nina said proudly, having read about it in a book. Lily looked impressed. "I wish I had a garden like this." "You can help me take care of it if you like," Nina offered. "Maybe we can plant more flowers together." "I'd love that," Lily agreed. As the weeks went by, the garden flourished. The sunflowers reached high into the sky, their large yellow faces bright and cheerful. The daisies formed a carpet of white and yellow blooms, and the roses continued to produce fragrant flowers. Nina and Lily spent many afternoons in the garden. They painted pictures of the flowers, wrote poems, and even made flower crowns. They learned about different insects and how they helped the plants. Nina's parents were happy to see her enjoying the outdoors and learning so much. One weekend, Nina's grandparents came to visit. "We've heard all about your beautiful garden," her grandmother said. Nina took them outside to see it. Her grandfather admired the tall sunflowers. "These are impressive," he said. "You must have taken great care of them." Her grandmother bent down to smell a rose. "This smell wonderful," she said. "Gardening is a wonderful hobby, Nina. It teaches patience and responsibility." Nina beamed with pride. "I love it," she said. "It's amazing to see how tiny seeds can become big, beautiful plants." As summer progressed, Nina decided she wanted to add more to her garden. She talked to her parents about planting vegetables. "We could grow tomatoes, carrots, and lettuce," she suggested. "Then we can eat what we grow." "That's a fantastic idea," her mother said. "Growing vegetables is a bit different from flowers, but we can learn together." They bought vegetable seeds and prepared a new section of the garden. Nina planted the seeds carefully, following the instructions on the packets. She continued to tend to her garden every day, making sure all the plants had enough water and sunlight. One day, Nina noticed that some of the leaves on her rose bush had tiny holes in them. She looked closer and saw small green caterpillars munching away. Worried, she ran to tell her father. "Don't worry," he said. "Caterpillars can be harmful to plants, but we can remove them gently. They're also part of the garden's ecosystem." They carefully picked the caterpillars off the leaves and moved them to a patch of wild plants away from the garden. Nina learned that not all insects are bad and that some can actually help her plants by eating pests. Her vegetable plants began to grow, and soon Nina was able to pick fresh lettuce for salads and ripe tomatoes for sandwiches. She shared the vegetables with her family and friends, proud of what she had accomplished. At school, Nina's teacher asked the students to write about something they had done over the summer. Nina wrote about her garden, describing how she planted the seeds, cared for the plants, and enjoyed the fruits of her labor. When she read her essay aloud to the class, her classmates were fascinated. "That's so cool," one boy said. "I didn't know you could grow so many things in your backyard." "I want to try gardening too," said another girl. Nina felt happy that her story inspired others. She offered to help anyone who wanted to start their own garden. As autumn approached, the days grew shorter, and the weather became cooler. The sunflowers began to droop, and the leaves on the trees turned shades of red and gold. Nina knew it was time to prepare the garden for winter. She collected seeds from the sunflowers and daisies to save for next spring. She and her parents cleared away the old plants and added compost to the soil to keep it healthy. One crisp afternoon, Nina sat in her garden, thinking about all that had happened over the past months. She felt grateful for the experience and excited for what the next year would bring. Her father joined her, carrying 2 mugs of hot chocolate. "You've done a wonderful job with the garden," he said, handing her a mug. "Thanks, Dad," she replied. "I learned so much, and it was a lot of fun." He nodded. Gardening teaches us about life, the cycles of growth, the importance of care, and how patience brings rewards. Nina sipped her hot chocolate. "I can't wait for spring to come again," she said. "I want to plant even more flowers and maybe try growing pumpkins." Her father laughed. "That sounds like a great plan. We'll support you all the way." Winter came, and the garden lay quiet under a blanket of snow. Nina used the time to read books about plants and gardening. She planned what she wanted to grow next and even drew up a new layout for the garden. When spring finally arrived, Nina was ready. She and her parents worked together to prepare the soil and plant the seeds she had saved. She added new varieties of flowers and vegetables, eager to see how they would grow. Her passion for gardening continued to grow, and she shared it with others. She started a gardening club at school, where students could learn and work on projects together. They planted flowers around the schoolyard, making it more colorful and inviting. Nina realized that her simple desire to plant flowers in her garden had blossomed into something much bigger. She had learned about nature, responsibility, and community. She had discovered a love for the earth and a joy in helping things grow. One day, as she stood in her garden filled with blooming flowers and thriving plants, Nina smiled and thought about how it all began. With a few seeds and a lot of care, she had created a place of beauty and peace. Her mother came outside and put an arm around her. "Look at what you've accomplished," she said softly. "It's amazing," Nina agreed. "And there's still so much more to learn and do." Her mother nodded. "Yes, and I know you'll continue to make wonderful things happen." Nina knew that planting flowers was just the beginning of her journey. She felt excited about the future and all the possibilities it held. With determination and a loving heart, she was ready to grow, just like her garden.